Tonight, millions more Australians feeling the pinch as another interest rate rise pushes households to the limit. And Anthony Albanese calls a national cabinet meeting on fuel shortages and spiralling prices. Good evening, I'm Greg Jennett with you from Ngunnawal country and acknowledging others with connection to the lands of the ACT. This is ABC News. Also tonight, questions raised in the Assembly about CIT's chief executive found to have breached her previous employer's code of conduct. Another High Court loss for the government over laws designed to keep the community safe. And the Matildas beat China to waltz into the final of the Asian Cup. It's estimated almost 1.5 million households could now be at risk of falling into mortgage stress. Many Australians are rethinking their household budgets as the nation's big banks waste no time in passing on yesterday's interest rate hike, adding more pain and strain for those already struggling.
In Australian suburbs, mortgage pain is hitting home as news of another interest rate hike drives up loan repayments.
I was surprised because obviously everyone thought it would be coming in May.
I think it's a little bit ridiculous to put interest rate up 2 months back to back.
According to research from Roy Morgan, the latest rate rise could leave more than 1.4 million home borrowers at risk of mortgage stress once the rate increases are passed through. The Commonwealth Bank, ANZ and NAB will hike home loans on the 27th of March. For Westpac borrowers, it's the 31st.
Yes, we can help you with that today.
Calls to financial counsellors have increased.
After the interest rate rise, we saw our busiest February since before the pandemic, so since 2020.
Australians facing tough situations are being advised to get on top of their debt faster.
And that might mean calling up your creditors, calling up the bank or your telco or your energy company and explaining your situation and asking for a hardship arrangement.
The Reserve Bank's hiking interest rates to cool the economy and stop prices from rising so fast. Economists think it has more work to do.
We are forecasting another 25 basis point rate hike in May, and that will take the cash rate back to 4.35.
The pain for mortgage borrowers is expected to increase as the cost of living crisis collides with mortgage pain. But it's a different story for Australians who have paid off their home and have savings in the bank.
If interest goes up, that's good for me.
Other retirees are concerned for their children.
I have 2 daughters that got mortgages and they're finding it a little bit tough.
Will affect our sons. So it's a hard time for them as well with petrol rises as well.
A double whammy to the hip pocket nerve. David Taylor, ABC News.
The Prime Minister has called a national cabinet meeting for tomorrow to try and resolve Australia's fuel supply shortages. A new supply chain czar will be appointed to coordinate the response, as fresh Treasury modelling confirms the war in the Middle East will push inflation even higher. Here's our National Affairs correspondent, Jane Norman.
On a wide open road in a wide brown land, diesel's considered the lifeblood of the Australian economy.
That's not the Australian way, I can tell you.
But in less than a month, prices have doubled and in some towns, supplies are running out.
The war in the Middle East is disrupting supply chains. It's pushing up fuel prices.
In response, the Prime Minister is bringing together state and territory leaders to identify where the shortages are and how to get the fuel there. The operation to be coordinated by a new supply chain czar.
Of course, we're preparing for every contingency and will continue to do so.
We already have a fuel czar. His name's Chris Bowen, and he needs to do his day job.
Supplies are solid, according to the government.
I don't think rationing will be part of that consideration. It's not necessary at this stage.
Demand is the problem, with panic buying and stockpiling causing some servos to run dry.
We have seen some what I've called un-Australian activity, buying jerry cans, selling it on Facebook Marketplace. That's just nuts.
That's not an answer to this problem. We need to be doing more here, as I know others have said, to bring on exploration and refining of fuels here in Australia.
With only 2 refineries left, Australia imports 90% of its liquid fuels.
These refineries, we had 6 when Angus Taylor was the Energy Minister, 2 by the time that he left.
Now well into its 3rd week, the war is taking a greater economic toll. In a major speech tomorrow, the Treasurer will reveal new modelling showing economic growth will fall further and inflation could rise above 5%, back to what it was in 2023. But this time around, there's little appetite for handouts, with the Treasurer favouring spending cuts and tax reform in his upcoming budget.
The economic consequences of this conflict are very serious, extremely serious, and potentially enduring.
And Australians will be paying the price. Jane Norman, ABC News, Canberra.
One of Australia's defence bases in the Middle East has been damaged by an Iranian strike near Dubai. The federal government says the impact was minor and no Australians were injured. It comes as Israel announced it's killed another 2 senior members of the Iranian regime.
A wave of Israeli airstrikes on Tehran targeting the besieged militia, a volunteer branch of Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. Its commander, Gholam Reza Soleimani, killed, along with security chief Ali Larijani, one of the most powerful figures in the regime.
Our aircraft are hitting the terror operatives on the ground, in the crossroads, in the city squares.
Iran's response was swift. A missile strike killing 2 people in central Israel.
The roof caved in on top of an elderly couple that were inside of their apartment.
An hour after Larijani's death, Iran hit back. A barrage of missiles struck at least 5 sites in Tel Aviv. This usually busy train station hit in the fallout.
Iran's ongoing attacks on Gulf states are impacting Australia. The federal government revealing a fire caused minor damage at the Al Minhad defence base in the United Arab Emirates after a projectile hit a nearby road.
I can confirm that no Australian personnel were injured and everyone is absolutely safe.
Australia has deployed a surveillance plane to the UAE, but isn't acting on Donald Trump's demands for countries to send ships to the Strait of Hormuz to protect oil tankers.
So we helped them and they didn't help us, and I think that's a very bad thing for NATO.
The US president adding Australia to the list of nations he's singled out on social media. We no longer need or desire the NATO countries' assistance. We never did. Likewise, Japan, Australia or South Korea.
I thought it was a petulant post from a president under immense pressure.
I'm not aware of any specific formal request for us to send ships into the Strait of Hormuz. It's not something that we've been considering.
The late, great Winston Churchill.
As the president bickers with international allies, he's also facing criticism from within. Counter-terrorism official Joe Kent resigning from his role, telling Mr Trump, Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it's clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby.
I always thought he was weak on security, very weak on security. But
one of the first signs of internal dissent.
Thank you very much.
Bridget Rollison, ABC News, Tel Aviv.
The United Nations Human Rights Office is warning that Israeli airstrikes on residential buildings and displaced civilians in Lebanon could amount to war crimes. Israel's military says it's targeting infrastructure belonging to the Iranian-backed Hezbollah. The intense fighting has killed more than 800 people in Lebanon and forced nearly 1 million from their homes.
In the early morning, a building in downtown Beirut is levelled in an Israeli strike. This attack well outside Hezbollah's stronghold suburbs in the south, sparking concerns that nowhere in this city is safe. This unfinished council building is now an emergency shelter.
We had houses and we were living happy lives. Now we've become like this.
Charities forced to step in to deal with the humanitarian crisis.
How many meals are you cooking here a day?
About 2,000 hot meals.
As Israel expands its ground operations in the south and airstrikes there and beyond, and Hezbollah continues to fire upon Israel.
We are monitoring Hezbollah and all of its commanders, from Beirut to southern Lebanon.
Israel has demanded the evacuation of a huge part of the south, all the way to the Zahrani River and much of Beirut's southern suburbs. It's left more than 900,000 Lebanese displaced inside their own country.
And this is the reminder of that ever-present threat from Israel, a strike just coming through in southern Beirut over there, just beyond the international airport.
Not far from that blast, a school has been commandeered as accommodation for almost 700 people. 71-year-old Asriha tells us 11 people are sleeping in this half of one classroom.
It is a lot of pressure, and we are short on resources, especially if the war is extended and the displacement doesn't end soon.
Although finding reasons to smile in chaotic circumstances. Matthew Doran, ABC News, Beirut.
ACT Skills Minister Michael Pedersen has told the Legislative Assembly he was only made aware of misconduct allegations against CIT's new CEO, Margot McNeil, the day before she took up the role last June. The findings of an unfair dismissal case in the New South Wales Industrial Commission last week, which decided against her, noted allegations of misconduct were made by staff at the state's TAFE, and she'd been found to have breached her previous employer's code of conduct. In a statement, Dr McNeil said the matter was subject to ongoing legal proceedings, including a challenge to the process, the investigation and the outcomes, and it has no bearing on her role at CIT, to which she's deeply committed.
I'll continue to work constructively to ensure that CIT is held in the highest of community confidences. I've engaged constructively with the board on these matters since first becoming aware of them. I'm currently awaiting the results of an independent review.
The government has had a second rebuke in the High Court over its measures to force some of those released from indefinite immigration detention to live under curfew and wear electronic ankle monitors. The government has played down the loss, but human rights advocates say it's a win for the rule of law.
The High Court turned the system on its head in 2023 by ruling indefinite immigration detention is illegal. But two efforts to address public safety concerns, including curfews and electronic bracelets, have flopped. The government is undeterred, pointing to its agreement with Nauru. The government's ambition was never about ankle bracelets. If someone has their visa cancelled, they should leave, and that's what we're determined to achieve. The High Court found an initial regime imposing the restrictions breached the Constitution because it amounted to punishment imposed by government rather than the courts. A second regime failed to overcome the problem. The opposition says it's a stuff-up.
The Minister needs to tell us exactly how the government intend to ensure that there is no risk to the community as a result of the findings of the High Court.
But others say it's a victory for the rule of law, and the government should have looked at other ways of managing the group.
Being highly punitive, as the government has been, has proved counterproductive.
350 people have been released since the High Court's original decision, with 6 sent to Nauru so far. Today's decision will only affect 43 people who'll now be placed on mandatory reporting conditions, which is effectively bail. Elizabeth Byrne, ABC News, Canberra.
Australia's former Chief Justice, Sir Anthony Mason, has died aged 100. He served on the High Court for 23 years, including 8 years as Chief Justice from 1987 to 1995. Sir Anthony presided over a number of groundbreaking rulings, including the landmark 1992 Mabo decision that recognised native title. In 2012, it was revealed that as a junior judge on the High Court, he'd given advice to Governor-General Sir John Kerr during the Whitlam dismissal crisis. He's being remembered as a pioneer of Australian law.
He wasn't your narrow lawyer
He was interested in public affairs. He was interested in the relationship between the individual and government. He was interested in international affairs. He was interested in sport. He was interested in politics. He had this large vision.
A dangerous, powerful cyclone is barrelling towards far north Queensland's coast, with residents being urged to prepare for the worst. Tropical cyclone Narelle is forecast to reach Category 5 before making landfall early on Friday, generating gusts of up to 250 kilometres an hour.
It's coming with brutal force. The warning is leave now.
This may be the biggest system that many people have seen in living memory.
Or prepare to take shelter.
We should not underestimate the potential for the loss of life.
Police door knocking, taking no chances in communities like Wujal.
Just making sure you're aware about what's happening.
The town's still reeling from devastation from Cyclone Jasper 3 years ago.
Whole experience of that really traumatised people, and the fear that something similar might happen again is a real concern.
Across the danger zones, frightened residents are strapping down properties and reviewing safety plans.
And remember, preparedness is about being ready, not being worried.
Eerily quiet, the remote community of Cohen is set to take a direct hit. There is no official cyclone shelter.
I'm nervous, I am, because this is the first big cyclone that we're about to get.
Much of the north is already flooded. Some parts have been isolated for months. So severe tropical cyclone Narelle is all bad news, with predicted falls of up to 400 millimetres and catastrophic wind gusts of up to 250 kilometres an hour.
This is not the opportunity for you to be outside during the cyclone getting that TikTok moment. Do not do it. A piece of debris being propelled at 100 kilometres or more will likely kill you.
Offshore danger zones like luxury resort Lizard Island have been evacuated.
There are some staff who will be staying there in a strengthened area.
Police, paramedics and emergency crews have been bolstered. It's now a case of watch and wait. The cyclone's set to cross the Gulf and impact the NT and travel to Western Australia before petering out. Lexi Hamilton-Smith, ABC News.
Fertility experts say further IVF errors could be uncovered as more Australians try to trace their ancestry through DNA tests. Yesterday, the ABC told the exclusive story of twin sisters who were born to a mother they are not biologically related to. It was due to an embryo mix-up 30 years ago at Sydney's Royal North Shore Hospital, which has a long history of issues with its fertility clinic.
It was here, at Royal North Shore Hospital's fertility clinic in Sydney, that ABC presenter Sarah Dingle was conceived in 1982 via anonymous sperm donation. She learnt that information at 27, spent years investigating her own story and the clinic, eventually writing a book about her work.
I realised that, first of all, this clinic had a policy of deliberately and systematically tampering with medical files.
The hospital says it was standard practice at the time to remove donors' identities on medical files. Yesterday, the ABC revealed another serious problem at the same hospital and clinic. New South Wales woman Sasha Safransky discovered she and her twin sister were born after an embryo mix-up in 1995. They learnt they are not related to the mother who birthed and raised them.
I was not surprised to hear of that story. This is a clinic with a dreadful track record.
Sasha Safransky uncovered the mix-up after submitting her DNA to the website Ancestry.com, trying to trace her family history.
With the increasing use of these things like Ancestry.com, we are going to uncover more and more situations where people don't have the parentage that they thought they did.
The Safranskys say they don't know how the IVF mistake was made and have been offered no apology or support because of a dispute between the hospital and IVF giant Virtus Health over who was responsible for the clinic at the time. The hospital says it had been privatised.
The only thing we can do at this point is to support the people who have been affected.
If you're going through this, you deserve to know why this happened.
Elise Kinsella, ABC News.
To finance now, and both BHP and Woodside Energy have new bosses in a changing of the guard in corporate Australia. Here's Daniel Ziffer.
After 6.5 years, Mike Henry is leaving and mega miner BHP will have a new boss, Brandon Craig. Also today, oil and gas giant Woodside Energy has elevated Liz Westcott to CEO. That's less of a shock because she's been doing the job since December, when former Chief Executive Meg O'Neill fled to run BP. BHP is our second most valuable company, behind the Commonwealth Bank. But Brandon Craig will be getting a far less exciting pay packet than his outgoing boss, who earned $19 million last year. When I asked him today about the world on fire geopolitical situation of recent weeks, he described it as a pretty interesting time. So he's clearly got a flair for understatement as well as digging up copper. Shares in both companies lifted as investors cheered safe internal appointments to money-making behemoths. Stocks rose in the US as the world waits on interest rate decision from its central bank, the Fed, which is expected to keep rates in the range between 3.5% and 3.7%. Yes, ours are now higher than that. Brent oil fell but remains above $100 a barrel. Our dollar now above 71 US cents, its highest level in more than 2 years. And that's finance.
To sport now, and the Matildas are already back in Sydney, ready to fulfil their dream of winning the Women's Asian Cup on Saturday night. Their 2-1 win over China in Perth last night was once again inspired by some Sam Kerr brilliance, with the team well placed, finally, to win a trophy.
She is incredible, Sam Kerr.
Kerr's career has been built on making the seemingly impossible look easy, but she's taken it to a new level at the Asian Cup, scoring a magical match winner for the second straight game.
Perfection from Sam Kerr. I know I can be one of the best players in the world, and I think I'm showing that at this tournament.
Kerr is the only player in this current golden generation to have ever won a major tournament, the 2010 Asian Cup. Most have spent half their lives playing together and are also peaking at the right time.
Well, she's arriving on the spot.
We've been fighting so long to get here, and I just feel like finally it's paid off, and yeah, we deserve to be there and we deserve to be playing for a trophy.
It didn't all go the Matildas' way.
Mary Fowler.
Ford's opener was cancelled out by China's penalty to keep it level at the break. After Kerr's brilliance, the defending champions tried everything to keep their title hopes alive, but the Matildas wouldn't crack. As Emily Van Egmond came on late for a record-breaking 170th cap. The celebrations have been tempered with the harsh reality of what's needed next.
Our objective of getting to the final is complete. We know deep down in our hearts that we need to be better.
Now it's down to the last leg of an incredible journey to see if they can finish on a high.
Amanda Shalala joins us now from Stadium Australia in Sydney, where the second semi-final between Japan and South Korea is about to get underway. Amanda, the Tillies, they don't get a choice, of course, but if they did, which one would they be backing tonight, do you think?
Oh, look, it's a tough one, Greg. Japan and South Korea have been the two best teams at this tournament so far, both unbeaten. The Matildas would probably prefer to face the South Koreans. They had that 3-3 draw with them in the group stage. They are the world number 21, and they haven't beaten Japan in a competitive match in over 10 years. The Japanese women entered this tournament as the red-hot favourites, and they have shown why. They're the world number 8, the highest-ranked team in Asia, and through their 4 games, they have scored 24 goals and conceded none. So it would take an absolutely monumental effort to stop them tonight.
The path will become clear very soon. Amanda Shalala at Stadium Australia, thank you. Meanwhile, in the A-League women's competition, Canberra United face a season-defining game against second-placed Adelaide United this weekend. Star striker Michelle Heyman will be off on Matilda's duty, but United hasn't ruled out her playing some part in Sunday's game.
With just 3 games left before finals, a win on Sunday is vital for Canberra United.
A game against Adelaide United, who's there or thereabouts with us on the ladder as well, will make or break.
Creating chances wasn't an issue against Melbourne City, but finishing was.
A great block on the line.
And it's a key focus for the side.
It's a bit of a habit of ours, though, that in those big moments that we don't put the game to bed.
What could help is getting star striker Michelle Heyman back from the Matildas.
Technically, Saturday night after the game, she's off Matilda's duty. So, is she available? Most likely. Will she play? That's a different conversation.
Canberra will prepare as if Heyman won't play, but if she remains on the bench for the Matildas, she'd be a welcome addition for United.
Obviously, Michelle is such a vital part to this team, and even the environment, she brings a lot.
4th place United are well positioned to make the finals, but a win over Adelaide is crucial if they're to finish in the top 2 and secure a home semi-final. Sunday's game will also see Anthony Jagrenek break the record for most games coached at United.
That's news to me. There you go.
However, getting a win seems a bigger priority. Peter Lusted, ABC News, Canberra.
As he prepares to break the Super Rugby record for most games played, Brumbies veteran James Slipper says he hasn't given up on continuing to play next year. Slipper will play his 203rd Super Rugby game against the Chiefs at Canberra Stadium on Friday. He's one of 7 players returning to the starting lineup after being rested in last week's loss to Fijian Drua. Slipper says he still feels physically up to playing and has surprised himself with his longevity.
Probably didn't see myself sticking around in rugby this long, let alone the Brumbies, but it's probably due to the Brums that I've managed to keep playing for as long as I have. It's a club that gets the best out of me.
Australia's Winter Paralympians have arrived home from Milano Cortina. Australia sent one of its biggest ever Winter Paralympic squads to Italy, and they received a warm welcome from family and friends in Sydney. Governor-General Sam Mostyn was also there to greet the team. Veteran snowboarder Ben Tudhope was Australia's most successful athlete at the Games, claiming silver in the snowboard cross and bronze in the banked slalom. Well, after a patchy week for flying, the Balloon Spectacular certainly lived up to its name this morning, and our inbox has filled with images of it. Roger was there somewhere near the museum as liftoff happened around dawn, and Calvin sent this more colourful shot of a light splashdown, we note with no kayaks anywhere near the basket there. Although it tried to rain this morning, it was so light nothing was recorded out at the airport. Canberra went from 16 degrees this morning to 25. Forecast showers didn't come to many other areas in the region. Moruya had 23 degrees. Goulburn topped out at 21, 28 the high in Albury today. Sydney was damp and 23, 29 in Brisbane. Melbourne reached 21 and Perth was the hottest with 38 degrees. For the first time in a while, large sections of the continent are now cloud-free, but scattered low-level cloud lies over South Australia and Western New South Wales. South of Queensland, onshore breezes are the norm along most of the eastern seaboard, and we can see Tropical Cyclone Narelle off the North Queensland coast there. Brisbane and all stops north are in for rain tomorrow. The city will reach 28. A lot of rain's on the way for Sydney too, up to 40 millimetres and 25 degrees. Melbourne's looking cloudy and 21. The rain map shows it settling in over most of southern New South Wales by about early afternoon tomorrow. Heavier falls are concentrated in the east. Up to 15 millimetres is expected for Bega, 24 there. 20 millimetres possible in Goulburn, and around half of that amount is due in Wagga Wagga. You can bank on rain for us here in Canberra too. The Bureau gives us a 90% chance of between 4 and 20 millimetres through the morning and afternoon. An evening thunderstorm is also possible, heading for 23 degrees. These are your sunrise and sunset times for Thursday. Friday and Saturday are looking unsettled, but by Sunday, we're told, drier days will return. And that's it from our Canberra newsroom this Wednesday. 7:30's next. Good night.